Right, by the way, being as I feel like because they kept the same lineup, everyone it feels like no one has any interest in convo around G2, mate. Everyone's just like it's the same team, they're the best team. Who gives a shit? They lost one game, yeah, whatever. Is there any specific angle you have on G2? What do you think about this first week, or them keeping the same roster, or have you got any take?
Um, when I was watching Worlds, so the conversation in G2 definitely has to start with Worlds, right? Because that kind of contextualizes it. It's like everybody was like wondering because I know at the start they were hyping themselves up to be potentially rivaling 2019 G2. And of course, they didn't make the top 8 of Worlds, right? They lost to NRG, but they still put up a very decent showing against the Asian teams.
Sure.
I felt that this G2, they lacked the magic, right? They lacked the magic. They were definitely the best Western team, but it was not 2019 G2 where they will pull out a Pike in the top lane. They'll pull out Syndra, the carry. They'll pull out these things where it's the opposite of what I just talked about, right? Where they just inspired such confidence in you that you knew that they will be able to pull out something, even when they were going in into the semifinals. Was it the against the finals against FPX? And then they're talking about when they repeated the roster in 2020 and they were playing against Damwon in the
Oh yeah,
semifinal.
sure.
When Yankos is there saying that, don't worry guys, I've got a great idea for blue side draft and stuff
Right.
like that, and the boys comps and stuff like that. It's things like that that inspires confidence in you and
Sure.
inspires confidence in you to believe in them. But this iteration of G2, yes, they're a strong team. They're doing a lot of things correctly. A lot of decisions that that they're making make sense in general. Of course, ignoring the fact that Caps had an absolute stinker of a weekend. I think that it has been very uncharacteristically poor play from Caps over this past 3 games, right? And I think that Yike was also not necessarily making the best decisions as well. But these are very minor complaints as compared to what I'm seeing in the rest of the LEC, right? Where it's these very huge fatal flaws that are popping up as compared to, there's like some minor mistakes over there, and then Rogue outskill them with a scaling com after they mess up a 3v3. Um, as compared to some of the other things where I'm a lot more concerned for other teams. So overall, I think it's still a little bit hard to judge G2 because this is the type of team where it will be interesting to revisit them at the end of the split, where they've had more time, they've had more games in, and then they can start to talk about now that they have had more time together as a team, are we going to see more evolution for them, or have they kind of hit their peak and then they're just plateauing?
Yeah, the funny thing is, this is where I actually know, unfortunately. Like, look, this isn't actually like a big black pill or anything, guys. You'll be able to continue on after you hear this info. It's just unfortunate. It's one of those like things about reality you just have to accept if you're going to follow a thing where people are fans. Is some people are just fans of things like one player, but not necessarily like the player being the best. Like sometimes they just follow that player. And basically, if that player has the status of being the best, so I could use popular examples, Messi, LeBron, especially if they were once the absolute best. If someone's just a fan of them, you'll notice the trend is they'll hang on to the bitter end. They'll just say they're the absolute best at the absolute end. Like the joke is one day before he retires, the Messi fans will say he's still the best player, even if like at that point, like now, he's not the best player anymore. He's just a good player. He's at the end of his career, guys. He's really old if you don't know. So the point I'm making is I actually didn't see almost any convo aside from Rich on Twitter, Rich's Wrath saying it, and maybe like I don't know. I guess he did the odd in. People commented, dude. Bear in mind, G2 went 2-1 and are the best team in the league. How is no one going to talk about how bad Caps looked? Because I'm with you, Jensen. This was shocking, actually. Like for me, he's a player where, especially because I would have even said, like my main criticism the last year was I actually thought, if anything, he took a little bit of the spice out of his game. It looked like he tried to make it a bit more consistent and be a bit less of the old Caps that was more the coin flip, as it were. This was just a really bad week, mate. Like, I don't know. Look, again, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Obviously, he's like the greatest European player ever, but this was a fucking alarming looking first week. I mean, he's got such a mega team that can win without him, but in theory, if you're Caps, you're supposed to sort of be in the easiest position to look awesome. You're supposed to be the MVP of the league, probably. It's kind of shocking, right?
So this is where I play defense a little bit for Caps, right? Like the insta he's making are not game losing hits. They look bad because this is the Caps that was from 2018, 2019, right? Where it was Caps or craps. And he was put into this positions where he could overextend and reach for those plays. And it's because he went for it and it didn't work out. That's why it looks so bad, right? And of course, when it doesn't look good, it looks really bad, and everyone's saying, "Oh, it's going to say Craps," and that the Caps is not going to be playing well. But the fact that he can be put into these positions as well, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say the Caps is completely washed, right? He
Oh,
went in there,
sure.
it was a few flips, it didn't work out. There's definitely some of the scenarios he could have played a little bit better, or some of the decisions. I'm thinking of the one where he overextends against Rogue in the bot lane because he tries to greed for the kill on the AD carry. And these are top scenarios where if they need to clean it up, these style things with the superior, and we can just go back to the I wouldn't say go back to prime Caps, but he's not going to be a bad player,
Oh,
right?
sure. Yeah, all I would say is this is the lens I would give you if you're a reasonable casual fan. Mate, if we took the nameplate off and that was Perks that people thought did those plays, how do you think they would react to that? Because if you don't know, Perks has like, the joke is the second he starts making a questionable play, it's almost like people ring an alarm bell like it's fucking dinner time or something. Like the haters just swarm in like World War Z or something like. So all I'll say is it must just be nice to be Caps and have that sort of fucking G2 privilege, I guess, where you're allowed to just have a bad week and people sort of don't notice because your team won the game. I actually think that even shows some people are just noobs and thought like, oh, they won, so he must have been good. It's like, just watch the games for fuck's sake. He does have like, remember, all of his teammates, guys, are all LEC players. Like, probably justifiably so. Like, he has a mega team. See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.